What if I told you that your greatest battles were never out there in the world, but deep within your own mind, that the noise, the distractions, the opinions of the crowd, they're not the real enemy? The real war is fought in silence, in solitude, where you face the mirror of your soul without filters, without flattery, without noise. In this silence, the truth emerges, about your fears, your ego, your desires, your strength. This is where warriors are forged, not in applause, but in isolation, not by seeking validation, but by mastering focus, discipline, and emotional clarity. If you can train your mind the way a soldier trains his body, if you can learn to be alone without losing your warmth, then nothing and no one can shake you. The world may roar, but you will remain unmoved, because you've already defeated the only enemies that ever mattered. Withdraw into yourself often, not to escape the world, but to remember what is real. The man who cannot sit in silence with his own thoughts is a man who does not yet know himself. We waste ourselves in the noise, scrolling, rushing, explaining, defending, reacting. But the truth is, a warrior has no need to explain who he is. He simply is. He acts with quiet certainty because he has examined his heart in stillness. The crowd may demand your voice, your attention, your reaction. Let them, that is not your concern. When the soul becomes too entangled in what others say, in what the world shouts, it begins to lose its shape. You become scattered, one part of you pulled to the opinions of the foolish, another drawn to the praise of those who do not know your path, and still another part, afraid to be forgotten, afraid to be alone. But solitude is not abandonment, it is not punishment, it is strength without spectacle. It is clarity that asks for nothing but your presence. You must build a room within yourself, a place to which you can retreat when the world grows loud and foolish. And in that inner room there is no need to impress, no need to posture, no need to win. Only the truth lives there, and that truth will speak to you, not in grand words, but in stillness. It will not flatter you, it will not comfort your pride, but it will strengthen you, it will show you what matters. Think of the warrior who sharpens his blade, not in front of others, but alone, in silence. He does not boast, he does not broadcast, he prepares. When the time comes, his movements are clean, precise, without hesitation. That is the power of inward retreat. It is preparation without applause. It is mastery without noise. If you only train in the arena of others' eyes, your strength is illusion. But if you train in silence, your strength becomes real. There will be times when solitude feels heavy, when your thoughts become a storm. Sit through it. Do not run. You are not the storm. You are the sky that holds it. Eventually, the winds calm, the mind settles. The deeper truths float to the surface. That is when clarity appears, not forced, not shouted, but revealed. Let others live in distraction. Let them boast of things that mean nothing. Let them cling to noise because they fear what silence might reveal. But you choose differently. Choose to be the man who can disappear for a while, not to be lost, but to be found. Choose to come back stronger, clearer, with direction in your eyes and peace in your chest. The man who withdraws into himself is not escaping life. He is confronting it without ornament. He is meeting his faults without excuse. He is remembering that he was never meant to be ruled by the world, but to move through it like a steady fire, quiet, unwavering, full of purpose. Inward retreat is not isolation, it is alignment, alignment with what is eternal, with what is right, with what is necessary. Every day offers you the chance to return to yourself, to step back from the noise and ask, what do I truly need? What is truly mine to carry? You'll find most things are not. You'll find peace in that letting go. You'll find power in that stillness. That is what makes you unshaken. That is what separates the warrior from the restless man. Withdraw into yourself often. The world does not need more noise. It needs more men who know who they are without having to shout it. When the world grows quiet, the soul begins to speak. Not in loud declarations or dramatic visions, but in calm, steady truths that have always been waiting for you beneath the noise. Solitude is not a place you run to. It is a space within you that you return to, not for escape, but for remembrance. A man cannot know who he is while constantly surrounded by the opinions, expectations, and desires of others. He becomes shaped by them, unknowingly molded into what they want him to be, rather than who he truly is. There is a reason so many fear silence, because silence does not flatter. It does not entertain. It does not lie to you. It holds up a mirror. It shows you what is unhealed, what is unresolved, what is real. The man who sits alone without distractions must confront himself, and that confrontation is not always gentle. It is not always pleasant, but it is always necessary. You may see pride you didn't know was there. You may find weakness you thought you had hidden. You may face regrets that linger beneath your laughter and strength that you had forgotten. This is the raw honesty of solitude. It removes the masks, even the ones you wear for yourself. But do not resist this truth. Do not be afraid when solitude reveals what is broken. Be grateful, because only what is seen can be healed. Only what is known can be changed. The fool avoids the mirror because he cannot bear to look. The wise man leans in. He studies his reflection not to criticize, but to understand. In that understanding, he begins to grow, not by the standards of the world, but by the standards of nature, of reason, of virtue. You must learn to sit with your thoughts without fear. Most men fear being alone not because they dislike solitude, but because they have made enemies within their own minds. They have let their thoughts run wild and untrained for so long that now, when silence falls, those thoughts become loud and chaotic. But a disciplined mind is not your enemy. It becomes your sanctuary. It becomes your ally. When the soul is well ordered, solitude is no longer a threat. It is a refuge. The world will constantly try to pull you away from this stillness. It will try to convince you that your worth is measured by noise, by appearance, by the eyes upon you. But your true worth is found when no one is looking, when no one is listening, when there is no audience, no applause. That is where character lives. That is where the soul breathes freely. Do not wait until the world becomes unbearable to seek solitude. Make it a habit. Make it a daily return to what matters. Even if for only a moment, step away, retreat inward. Ask yourself, what am I chasing that I do not need? What am I fearing that has no power over me? What am I pretending not to know? Solitude sharpens the mind because it removes distraction. When the noise fades, what remains is essence, the essence of who you are, not who the world told you to be, not who you think others want you to be, but the quiet, steady, enduring truth of your own nature. It may not be flashy, it may not impress the crowd, but it is real, and what is real endures. The applause fades, the status changes, but the man who knows himself and needs little cannot be moved. Let yourself grow comfortable with being alone, not as a punishment, but as preparation. The man who trains alone is not weak. He is becoming dangerous in the best way, calm under pressure, grounded in chaos, clear when others are confused, because he has heard his own thoughts. He has tested them, strengthened them, replaced illusion with reality. The one who knows the sound of his soul cannot be deceived by the noise of others. When you learn to hear your soul in solitude, the world loses its grip on you. You begin to speak less but say more. You begin to act slowly but with purpose. You become unshaken not because you never feel, but because you have already faced yourself in the silence and you did not turn away. Withdraw into yourself. And listen, the soul has been waiting to speak. There is a certain sickness in needing too much from others. Applause, praise, validation. It may feel like strength when the voices are loud and the eyes are watching, but it is a fragile strength. It is a borrowed light. The man who needs the crowd to feel valuable has already surrendered the one thing he was meant to protect, his soul. He becomes like a reed in the wind, bent by every opinion, swayed by every judgment, never truly standing on his own. A warrior does not walk that path. He does not depend on the noise of approval. He does not build his life around the admiration of the many. Why? Because the crowd is not wise. It is loud, it is fickle, it is easily swayed by novelty and spectacle. One day it will praise you, the next it will turn on you. To base your worth on the crowd's applause is to stand on shifting sand. No peace can grow from that. The man of reason walks alone not because he hates others, but because he knows he must not rely on them to define him. His compass is internal. His direction is guided by principle, not popularity. He does what is right, even if it costs him praise. He chooses the hard path when it is the honest one. He would rather be mocked for his integrity than celebrated for his compromise. That is the soul of a true warrior, not loud, not desperate for attention, but steady, resolved, grounded. You must ask yourself often, why am I doing what I am doing? Is it to be seen, to be applauded? Or is it because it is right, because it aligns with the values I claim to live by? If your actions are driven by praise, they are not yours. They belong to those who offer the praise, and when they withdraw it, you will collapse, confused, bitter, hollow. But if your actions are rooted in reason, if your path is lit by virtue, then it does not matter who sees. It does not matter who claps. It does not matter who speaks your name or forgets it. You remain unmoved because you were never doing it for them. Let others chase the stage. Let them measure their worth by attention, by applause that fades as quickly as it came. You measure your life by its alignment with truth. Did you do what was right, even when no one was watching? Did you speak with honesty even when lies were easier? Did you hold your values even when it cost you comfort? That is the applause worth seeking, the silent affirmation of a clear conscience. There is power in not being understood. There is freedom in not being known, because in that space you are no longer performing, you are living. The man who needs to be seen can be controlled, he can be bought. But the man who is content to walk alone cannot be moved by bribes, cannot be softened by flattery. His reward is not outside of him, it is within. Do not misunderstand me. There is nothing wrong with encouragement. There is nothing wrong with others recognizing your effort, but it must never be the fuel. It must never be the reason. When praise comes, accept it with humility. When it does not, continue with the same discipline, the same focus. Let your joy be in the doing. Let your reward be in the knowing that what you built cleanly. That what you gave freely. That who you are is not a performance, but a principle. In solitude, you will learn this. When no one is watching, your true motives are revealed. And if you can continue with the same intensity, the same purpose, in the absence of recognition, then you are free. You are no longer a slave to applause. You are no longer desperate to be seen. You walk with the strength of one who knows he is enough, not because others have said so, but because he has measured himself in silence and found peace. Live in such a way that if the crowd turned away from you tomorrow, you would still rise with the same determination. Still act with the same integrity, still walk the same path, because your soul is not for sale and your mission is not up for vote. That is how a warrior lives, quietly, purposefully, unmoved by the noise. Strength is not something granted, it is earned. It is built in silence, under pressure, and through repetition. Just as the body grows strong beneath the weight of resistance, so too does the mind sharpen through challenge and restraint. A man cannot expect to move through life untrained and yet remain composed when storms come. He must prepare, not for comfort, but for clarity, not for ease, but for endurance. The body teaches us this truth easily. We do not grow stronger by avoiding effort. Muscles do not form through rest alone, but through stress, struggle, and recovery. It is the lifting, the burning, the discipline that molds the body. The same law applies to the mind. A soft mind cannot lead a hard life. If the mind is not trained, it will break at the first sign of discomfort. It will collapse under pressure, retreat in confusion, and betray the man who relies on it. But a trained mind is a fortress. It does not panic. It does not crave approval. It does not flee from solitude. It remains steady because it has been tested, not once, but many times. The strength of your thoughts is not measured in moments of peace, but in how they hold together under pressure. Anyone can speak wisely when life is calm, but the man who has trained his mind in solitude, he is the one who can stand firm when everything begins to fall apart. That training begins where no one sees. Not in public victories, not in praise, but in quiet hours where you wrestle with your impulses, where you deny yourself the easy path and instead choose discipline. Discipline is not punishment. It is a gift. It is the sharpening of your own sword, so that when the time comes, you are ready, so that when life demands strength, you do not borrow it, you own it. To train the mind is to be intentional with thought. It is to recognize that not every idea deserves your attention, not every emotion deserves your reaction. Just as you would not feed your body garbage and expect it to function well, you must not allow every fear, every fantasy, every distraction to feed your mind. What you allow in will shape what comes out. Train yourself to think slowly, to choose what thoughts you entertain, to examine your beliefs instead of being ruled by them. Solitude is the gym of the mind. In that quiet, there is nothing to distract you from yourself. You must face your thoughts, your doubts, your unresolved fears. You cannot scroll them away. You cannot drown them in noise. You confront them, and in confronting them you grow. The man who trains alone knows this. He uses his time not to escape, but to build. While others chase pleasure, he builds focus. While others react, he studies his response. While others seek ease, he leans into challenge. You must practice not only how to think, but how not to think. Learn the discipline of silence. Learn to say no to the thought that does not serve you. Learn to hold back words when silence is wiser. Learn to delay the pleasure that weakens your will. That is mental strength, not intelligence, not cleverness, but self-command. A man who can rule his mind can rule his life. This is not learned in a day. It is not mastered in a single moment of inspiration. Like the body, the mind must be trained daily, and some days it will feel like failure. Some days you will feel weak, scattered, frustrated. That is part of the training. Do not run from it. Return again and again to the task. Each time you resist what is easy, each time you hold your ground in silence, each time you choose thought over reaction, you are forging something unshakable inside yourself. And over time you will notice the change. You will speak less but mean more. You will feel fear but not obey it. You will be provoked but remain still, because your mind has been conditioned like the body of the warrior who is trained for battle, not to be invincible but to be prepared, not to look strong but to be strong. The battle is not out there, it begins within. If you win the battle in the mind, you will carry that victory into every corner of your life. There is a danger in solitude, just as there is a gift. The same fire that can purify the soul can also scorch it if not watched carefully. To be alone does not mean to become bitter. It does not mean to grow distant or cold or convinced that others are your enemies. Solitude is a tool, not a prison. It is meant to temper you, not to harden you. Use it wisely, and it will make your spirit clear, your heart calm, and your judgment sharp. Misuse it, and it will fill you with suspicion, pride, and quiet resentment. You must be vigilant about what your time alone is doing to you. A man who isolates himself to escape pain will grow numb, not strong, but the man who enters solitude to understand, to reflect, and to discipline himself, he returns softer in spirit, but stronger in soul. That is the balance. Let your solitude refine you, not distance you. Let it make your heart deeper, not colder. There is no glory in becoming unreachable. The goal is not to be untouched by the world, but to remain untouched in your integrity, even as you feel every blow. The warrior must feel. He must allow his heart to remain alive. He must let himself weep when grief visits him, and smile when beauty crosses his path. A cold man is not a strong man. He is simply hiding behind walls. The man who feels yet does not drown, who hurts yet does not break, who cares but is not consumed, that is the man you must become. He is the one who has walked alone and returned with wisdom, not bitterness. Solitude should be your training ground, not your fortress. You go there to become more precise, not more distant, more rooted, not more rigid. Let your thoughts clarify, your emotions settle, and your instincts mature. But once you have done that work, step back into the world, engage with it, not from weakness, but from choice, and when you do, you will notice something. Your presence changes things, because you are no longer moved by every wind, no longer reacting from pain or pride. You are steady. Others may not understand it, but they will feel it. You must guard against the temptation to see the world as your opponent. Yes, people will fail you. They will misunderstand you, judge you, leave you. But that is not a reason to close your heart. That is a reason to strengthen it. Do not become harsh in your pursuit of strength. That is a shallow form of armor. The warrior who feels deeply and still acts with discipline is unmatched. He does not need to cut others off to protect himself. He does not need to prove his independence with cruelty. His solitude has given him something far greater, inner peace, and a man at peace with himself has no reason to hurt others. Let others harden if they must. Let them speak as if feeling is weakness, as if needing others is shameful. But you know better. Know that depth is strength. Know that clarity is forged through both solitude and connection. Know that to love without dependence and to be alone without bitterness is a higher form of mastery. The silence you sit in should reveal what matters, not convince you that nothing does. Let solitude show you what to hold on to, what to let go of. Let it deepen your loyalty to what is true. Let it burn away the need for validation and replace it with self-respect. But never let it convince you that you are beyond the need for connection. No man is. Even the strongest needs something to care for. Even the warrior needs a reason to fight that goes beyond himself. You must become the man who walks through solitude and returns with fire in his heart, not to destroy, but to illuminate. You must become the man whose silence is not empty, but full of intention, full of quiet strength, full of the kind of calm that can face anything because it has already faced itself. When solitude is used to refine, it makes you powerful. When it is used to hide, it makes you brittle. Do not confuse one for the other. Stay open, stay aware, stay willing to feel, but anchored enough not to be ruled by those feelings. Let your solitude humble you, not isolate you. Let it remind you of what is real, not strip you of your ability to care. Let your time alone shape you into someone deeper, not darker. Let it prepare you to re-enter the world, not with coldness, but with clarity. Let it make your love quieter, but more unshakable. Let it make your soul calmer, but more dangerous to anything false. And above all, let it make you whole. We are tempted to believe that our enemies live outside us, that it is the world we must fight, that if only people understood us better, or circumstances changed, or obstacles were removed, then we would be at peace. But this is illusion. The true battle has never been out there. It has always been within. Against distraction that scatters our attention, against ego that distorts our vision, against fear that chains our will, against false desires that promise fulfillment but leave us empty, solitude strips away the illusion. In silence, no one else can be blamed. There is no noise to hide in. You begin to see clearly what you've been avoiding, the endless need for approval, the craving for recognition, the subtle greed for more comfort, more praise, more power. These are the real enemies, not the man who opposes you, not the situation that challenges you, but the impulses within that weaken your spirit. Distraction is the first to rise. It feeds on comfort and noise. It waits for silence so it can whisper. It tells you to pick up the phone, to check something, to fill the space with anything but your own thoughts. It tells you that sitting still is a waste, but that stillness is where the war is fought. A distracted mind cannot lead. It cannot think clearly or act with precision. It reacts. It jumps from thought to thought, from pleasure to pleasure, never anchoring, never understanding. The man who cannot hold his focus will be ruled by others who can. Then comes ego. It is louder than distraction, more deceptive than fear. It convinces you that you are owed something, that your value depends on status, image, comparison. Ego always wants to be right, to be seen, to be praised. But ego blinds you. It cannot learn because it cannot admit weakness. It cannot serve because it only wants to rule. It inflates your self-importance until you forget that you are dust, brief, flawed, passing through this world like a breath. Solitude humbles the ego. When no one is watching, the mask falls. You begin to see who you really are, not who you pretend to be, and from that, growth begins. Fear arrives when silence deepens. It has many faces: doubt, insecurity, hesitation. It tells you that you are not enough, that you should avoid pain, avoid risk, avoid failure. But fear is a liar. It speaks with urgency but has no wisdom. The mind that listens to fear will always find a reason to shrink, always find an excuse to stay small. The warrior trains himself to hear fear but not follow it. He learns to move anyway, because on the other side of fear is clarity. On the other side is the life that cowardice will never let you touch. And then, perhaps the most seductive enemy of all, false desire. It tells you what to chase. It tells you happiness is in pleasure, in attention, in possessions, in being admired. But when you reach those things, they vanish. Or they stay, but bring no peace, because they were never meant to fill you. False desire exhausts you. It leads you in circles. You achieve, but feel hollow. You win, but feel numb. Solitude reveals this trap. In the quiet, you begin to notice how much time you've spent running toward things that were never meant for you, and you begin slowly to return to what matters. This is why solitude is necessary, not as a retreat, but as a battlefield. It is where you train, where you strip away illusion, where you confront your own weakness without excuses. The warrior who does not enter solitude remains untested. He may appear strong to others, but he is not strong within. And when the real challenges come, he falls. But the man who faces himself in silence, who defeats distraction, who breaks the grip of ego, who moves through fear, who sees through false desire, that man cannot be shaken. Do not wait for the world to give you peace, it never will, and do not waste time blaming others for what you lack. The conflict is not outside, it is within. Win that battle, and the world loses its power to disturb you. You will walk through storms with calm, you will face insults with silence, you will meet loss without collapse, because the enemies have already been conquered. In the only place they truly exist, so now you understand, this path is not for the crowd. It is not loud, it is not filled with praise or recognition, it is walked in silence, chosen in solitude and refined through discipline. You will not find your strength in the noise, you will find it in the quiet. Where no one watches, where no one claps, where you meet yourself without illusion, that is where the real transformation begins. Train your mind as you train your body, temper your heart but do not harden it. Feel deeply but stand unmoved, reject the need for applause, defeat the inner enemies, distraction, ego, fear, and false desire. Let solitude shape you, not silence you, and when you return from that place, calm, sharp, rooted, you will not need to prove anything. You will be the proof. Go now, walk your path, and let the world feel your stillness.